मयं भगवन्तं सधम्मं ससङ्घं मे हि सकारे यथा रहङ्गारोपिते हि अभिपूजयाम। वे जो हैं अरहंत भगवान सम्यक संबुद्ध, भगवान के द्वारा अच्छी तरह समझाया गया धर्म, धर्म के मार्ग को अच्छी तरह प्रतिपादित करने वाले भगवान के श्रावक संघ, उन भगवान बुद्ध, धम्म और संघ की हम यथोचित सत्कार से पूजा करते हैं। साधुनो भन्ते भगवा शुचिर परिनिभूतोऽपि पश्चिमा जनतानुकंपमानसा इमे सकारे दुगतपणाकार भूते पटिकन्हातु अंहाकं हिताय सुखाय। हमारा सौभाग्य कि भगवान को महान निर्वाण की प्राप्ति के बाद भी आगे आने वाली पीढ़ी पर अनुकंपा थी। आदर पूर्वक दी गई यह तुच्छ भेंट कृपया स्वीकार करें। हमारे दीर्घकालिक हित और सुख के लिए। आरहं सम्मा संबुद्धो भगवा बुद्धं भगवन्तं अभिवादेमि। स्वाक्षातो भगवता धम्मो धम्मं नमस्सामि। सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो संघं नमामि। अरहंत भगवान सम्यक संबुद्ध, भगवान बुद्ध का मैं अभिवादन करता हूँ। भगवान के द्वारा अच्छी तरह समझाया गया धम्म, उस धम्म को मैं नमन करता हूँ। भगवान के श्रावक संघ, जिन्होंने मार्ग को अच्छी तरह प्रतिपादित किया, उस संघ को मैं नमन करता हूँ। अन्नमयं बुद्धस्य भगवतो पुपभागनमकारं करोम से। नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स। नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स। नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स। जो बुद्ध धम्म संघ गुण हैं उनको याद कर लेते हैं आज दिन शुरू करने से पहले। जैसे हम में से कई लोगों को पता है, ये एक स्टैंडर्ड चैंट होती है जो टिपिकली खास करके पिलग्रिमेज पे, पर उसके अलावा भी हम लोग स्पॉन्टेनियसली किया करते हैं। So it's something worth remembering for all of us. So maybe we'll try and repeat it uh, a few mornings so that it helps us memorize it. It's on page number 5. Yetipiso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho vijja charana sampanno sugato लोकविदु अनुत्तरो पुरुषदम्म सारथी सत्ता देव मनुस्सानं बुद्धो भगवाति। स्वाखातो भगवता धम्मो संदिट्ठिको अकालिको एहिपस्सिको ओपनयिको पश्चातं वेदितव्यो विन्युहीति। सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो। उजुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो। न्यायपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो। सामीचिपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो। यदिदं चत्तारि पुरुषयुगानि अट्ठपुरुषपुद्गला एष भगवतो सावक संघो। आहुनेयो पाहुनेयो दक्षिणेयो अंजलिकरणियो अनुत्तरं पुण्यखेतं लोकस्याति। आपने नोटिस किया होगा मैं इसको थोड़ा अलग तरीके से कर रहा हूँ। टिपिकली इट इज डन इन अ स्ट्रेट फ्लो, बट व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू डू इज कि जो पर्टिकुलर क्वालिटीज हैं वी आर एबल टू फुली, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, say them clearly, और दूसरा बी एबल टू इन आवर माइंड्स, जैसे हमें सिखाया जाता है ना चैंटिंग की भूमिका, इन आवर माइंड्स उस शब्द की जो एग्जैक्ट मतलब है, उसका जो स्पिरिट है, उसको हम रिकॉल कर सकें। सो दैट इज हाउ द अनुसतीज आर सपोज टू बी हेल्पफुल। तो अब हम हिंदी करेंगे, और सिमिलरली लेट्स ट्राई एंड ब्रिंग आवर माइंड टू dwell upon जो स्पेसिफिक क्वालिटी जिसका जिक्र किया जा रहा है। सो फॉर चैंटिंग, लाइक मेनी टाइम्स वी आर टॉट, इट्स नॉट जस्ट कि हम उसको मैकेनिकली कर जाएं, और कई बार ऐसा होता है बिकॉज वी रिमेंबर इट सो वेल। सो तब एटलीस्ट आई हैव फाउंड इट यूजफुल कि थोड़ा मैं उसका जो एस्टेब्लिश्ड रिदम है उसको अगर बदलता हूँ, देन इट फोर्सेस द माइंड टू लिटिल बिट apply itself to what it is doing. ऐसे हैं वे भगवान अरहंत सम्यक संबुद्ध, प्रज्ञा और आचरण से संपन्न, सुगत एवं लोक ज्ञाता, मनुष्यों को संयमित करने वाले अनुपम सारथी, देवों और मनुष्यों के शास्ता भगवान बुद्ध, जो धम्म भगवान ने भली भांति समझाया, स्पष्ट दिखाई देने वाला, कालातीत, अन्वेषणा को प्रोत्साहित करने वाला, अंतर्मुखी करने वाला, प्रत्येक प्रज्ञावान को व्यक्तिगत रूप से अनुभव होने वाला है। धम्म के मार्ग को अच्छी तरह प्रतिपादित करने वाले भगवान के श्रावक संघ, धम्म के मार्ग को सीधे प्रतिपादित करने वाले भगवान के श्रावक संघ, धम्म के मार्ग को ज्ञान पूर्वक प्रतिपादित करने वाले भगवान के श्रावक संघ, धम्म के मार्ग को निष्ठा पूर्वक प्रतिपादित करने वाले भगवान के श्रावक संघ, जो हैं चार युगल और 8 प्रकार के आर्य, ऐसे हैं भगवान के श्रावक संघ। वे हैं भेंट देने योग्य, आतिथ्य के योग्य, दक्षिणा देने के योग्य और नमस्कार के योग्य। वे हैं इस लोक में अतुलनीय पुण्य क्षेत्र। और ऐसा भी कर लेते हैं, सिंस हम लोग डिपेंडेंट ओरिजिनेशन कर रहे हैं, उसको भी ज़रा हम, जो हमारा विपස්සना भूमि पाठो है वहाँ से, उसको ज़रा हम अपने आप को याद कराने के लिए चैंट कर लेते हैं, और इसलिए भी ताकि वो हमें अ, याद रहे। निखिल सेकंड वॉल्यूम में है ना, सेकंड एडिशन में है, इजंट इट? या 157। सो व्हाट वी कैन डू इज ट्राई टू रिमेम्बर जो लिंक्स है ना, उसको जितना हम याद रख पाएंगे, जो हमारे लिए भावना कर रही हैं, हमें उसमें और सहायता होगी. So we'll just do the Pali. The Hindi is not so different. It's quite similar. The important thing is कि हमें वो links जो हैं वो याद रहें. अविद्या पच्चय संखारा संखार पच्चय विज्ञान विज्ञान पच्चय नाम रूप नाम रूप पच्चय सलायतनं सलायतनं पच्चय फसो हस्स पच्चय वेदना वेदना पच्चय तन्हा तन्हा पच्चय उपादान उपादान पच्चय भव भव पच्चय जाति जाति पच्चय जरा मरणं शोक परिदेव दुःख दोमनस्सुपायासा संभवन्ति एवं एतस्य केवलस्य दुःखखण्डस्य समुदयो होति. तो ये तो फॉरवर्ड साइकिल था, और आज भावना हमें जो रिवर्स साइकिल है उसको भी बताएंगी. सो वी कैन ट्राई एंड रिमेंबर इट, और मोर इट्स exactly the same, but it goes in the reverse order. Well, it doesn't go in the reverse order. It shows us कि इसका निरोध कैसे होता है. So the order is similar, but पच्चय जो कंडीशनैलिटी है उसकी जगह पे उसका सेसेशन आ जाता है. So only that is what is changed. अविद्या त्वेव अशेष विराग निरोधो संखार निरोधो संखार निरोधा विज्ञान निरोधो विज्ञान निरोधा नाम रूप निरोधो नाम रूप निरोधा सलायतन निरोधो सलायतन निरोधा फस्स निरोधो फस्स निरोधा वेदना निरोधो वेदना निरोधा तन्हा निरोधो तन्हा निरोधा उपादान निरोधो उपादान निरोधा भव निरोधो भव निरोधा जाति निरोधो जाति निरोधा जरा मरणं शोक परिदेव दुःख दोमनस्सुपायासा निरुच्छन्ति एवं एतस्य केवलस्य दुःखखण्डस्य निरोधो होति. ओके, सो अभी हम महानिदान का जो इंट्रोडक्शन है वो भावना से समझ रहे हैं, सीख रहे हैं, सुन रहे हैं. एंड जस्ट टू फ्लैग दिस कि अभी जो हमें भावना इंट्रोडक्शन में बता रही हैं वो एक्चुअली केवल जो लिंक्स हैं, उनके जो स्पेसिफिक कॉन्स्टिट्यूशंस हैं, उनकी जो डेफिनेशंस हैं, उनके जो कंटेंट्स हैं, अभी वो हमें बता रही हैं. सो द प्रोसेस विल कम. और कल आई थिंक मुझसे भी पर्टिकुलरली, बट हम सब से ये थोड़ी वो हो रही थी, शायद क्या कहेंगे उसको, उत्सुकता हो रही थी दैट वी वर गेटिंग इनटू डिस्कशन ऑफ द प्रोसेस. एंड ऑफ कोर्स दैट्स फाइन, बट जस्ट टू लेट एवरीबडी नो कि एक्चुअल जो कंडीशनिंग होती है कैसे होता है, स्पेसिफिक एग्जांपल्स विल कम टू दैट, है ना. द होल प्रेजेंटेशन इज इन फैक्ट अबाउट दैट. तो अभी हम कम से कम इतना इंश्योर कर लें कि when we are using particular words, एग्जैक्टली व्हाट डू दोज मीन, वो जो टेक्निकल टर्म्स हैं उसकी हमें डेफिनेशंस अगर क्लियर रहती हैं तो जब वो प्रोसेस डिस्कशन आएगा देन वी वोंट गेट, देन इट विल बी हेल्पफुल फॉर अस, ताकि कि हमारा मन इज नॉट गेटिंग स्टक विद ओ बट व्हाट डज दिस मीन. सो अभी लेट्स ट्राई एंड क्लैरिफाई द स्पेसिफिक मीनिंग्स, एंड देन द एक्चुअल कंटेंट के वो कैसे ऑपरेट कर रहा है विल कम फर्स्ट डे ऑनवर्ड्स. Okay, Bhavna, please take over. हम फलसफे पे आ गए हैं, and she'll take us forward there.
सभी को नमस्ते. So yesterday we had started with महानिदान सूत्र। तो हम थोड़ा रिकैप कर लेते हैं। तो महानिदान सूत्र, this is often considered with a very high regard for the reason that it deals with the quintessential teaching of Buddha's teaching, which is about the cause and effect relationship, and that relates to dependent origination. So dependent origination, it implies that origin of suffering, it is dependent on some factors, and those factors strengthen and nourishes the outcome. So if the outcome has to be overcome, there is a need to work on the underlying factors. So that is what we had talked about dependent origination. And then we had started by looking into the three lives formulation in terms of the 12 factors. हम standard formulation के बारे में discuss कर रहे थे. So we had started with ignorance. So I'll take you through the factors which we have discussed yesterday in a brief format, and then we will continue with the remaining factors. So ignorance, what we had discussed related to ignorance is, if we are not living our day-to-day conduct as per the principles of Buddha's teaching, that will imply that there is not having understanding about the four noble truths. There is not having understanding of the fundamental concept of anicca, dukkha, and anatta, and that will lead to the problem that we will associate the occurrences to self. So this notion of self creates volitional formation. There is a tendency to act, and this can manifest either in terms of mental volition. If that is strong, then it may manifest in terms of a speech, and if that is still strong, it can manifest in terms of bodily action. In And then volitional formations condition consciousness. So in the three life paradigm, when the current uh, body is not in a state to fulfill the volitional action, then the patisandhi vinyana, that will result into next body, and this consciousness or this patisandhi vinyana, that will result into नाम रूप मेंटालिटी मटेरियलिटी. सो हमने मेंटालिटी के जब डिस्कस किया तो देयर वी हैड टॉक्ड अबाउट द मेंटल फंक्शंस, and materiality, it refers to रूप और physical body. And based on अभिधम्मा, ये जो नाम रूप के बारे में हम बात कर रहे हैं, तो here this नाम actually refers to the aggregates, which are feeling aggregate, perception aggregate, sankhar aggregate, and the form and consciousness aggregates, those refer to the roop materiality here.
Yeah, be careful भावना, consciousness अलग है ना, materiality में
Sorry,
consciousness
हाँ,
नहीं है.
the roop, sorry, not consciousness. So ये जो हम नाम रूप के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, so there the accumulated sankhara, it results into जो consciousness आया, accumulated sankhara, that resulted into consciousness, and that consciousness results into birth, that leads to a body and mind that is prepared to perform subsequent action. So here we are talking about preparation to perform subsequent action which will be happening later on. और ये जो हम माइंड एंड बॉडी की बात कर रहे हैं, it possess the properties and deficiencies in proportion to the accumulated karma or previously generated karma. At the same time, this mind and body, this is also conditioned by the nature of the particular plane of existence. जो हमने 31 realms देखा था, तो say if someone is born in a lower realm, there may be intense suffering. At the same time, if someone is born in a Devalok, the suffering may be slightly less. So that is what I'm implying by conditioning in the plane of existence. And after mentality, materiality, then in order to respond to the external world, to enable cognition and to enable personal needs, there must be some channel for associating with the external world. That is what we are calling at six sense basis, which are eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. So these perform the function of cognition of the internal phenomena. उसके बाद हम आज we'll start with contact feeling, and then we will discuss the remaining factors. Now, when we talk about the three lives paradigm, here I'll discuss the skeleton, and then we will look into the detailed explanation of it. So when we talk about the three life paradigm, we are talking about three successive lives: past life, present life, and the future life. तो ये जो हमारे फर्स्ट दो फैक्टर्स हैं, दोज आर एक्चुअली कॉल्ड एज past causes which are coming from past life. And then the volitional formation leads to Patisandhi Vinyan, and then the factors starting from consciousness to becoming, those actually form a part of the present life. And then from birth, which leads to aging and death, these two factors form a part of future life. तो ये जो यहाँ पे volitional formation और consciousness का transition हो रहा है, where there is a transition from one birth to the present life, as in past life to present life, let us try to understand that. तो ये जो हम संखार की बात कर रहे हैं और पटिसंधि विज्ञान यहाँ पे which leads to finding a new body, तो whenever there is a sankhara, there is a sense of life. So जैसे mental volition की हमने बात की थी, desire, craving, aversion, if any of these sorts exist, then there will be volitional action, and that volitional action will seek fulfillment. And at the time of death, what happens? The current body is not suitable for carrying out any action, because it is going to dissipate. So this relinking consciousness moves on to the next body in order to ensure that the sankhara gets fulfillment. So this sankhara that we are talking about, it is the force, the fundamental force that propels the cycle of birth and rebirth. And this we can relate to our understanding also when we say that in case of Arant, there is no sankhar left, and that is why there is nothing that needs to be done. और फिर हम कहते हैं कि अरंत का अगला जन्म नहीं होगा. यस, सो हमने पहला जो ट्रांजिशन है वो देख लिया फ्रॉम पास्ट लाइफ टू प्रेजेंट लाइफ. देन वी विल प्रोसीड थ्रू द रिमेनिंग फैक्टर्स, और फिर हम अगला ट्रांजिशन देखेंगे फ्रॉम प्रेजेंट लाइफ टू फ्यूचर लाइफ. तो फर्स्ट जो हमने डिस्कस किया था कल, इट टॉक्स अबाउट द कमिंग टुगेदर of the three factors which results into cognition. So ये जो three factors हैं, those are internal sense bases, external sense objects, and the consciousness. So when the interaction with the external world happens, and when these three factors operate together, then cognition takes place. उसके बाद जो अगला लिंक है, it says with contact as condition there is feeling. That implies first it is going to condition, it is the conditioning factor for feeling. So what is feeling? Feeling is the affective tone of experience which can be sukhad, dukhad, or asukhad, adukhad. So when as in the for the case of unawakened beings, when feeling arises, there is a consequence, and that consequence is explained in the next link. So it says, with feeling as condition, there is craving. So in the presence of ignorance, there is a tanha that arises in response of the feeling. So ये जो तन्हा है, it is divided into three kinds: काम तन्हा, भव तन्हा, विभव तन्हा. और काम तन्हा में 6 kinds of craving आते हैं related to form, sound, smell, taste, a tactile object and mind object. जो अगला लिंक है, सो हेयर तन्हा इज रेफरिंग टू डिजायर और क्रेविंग टू डू समथिंग. सो अगर प्लेजेंट फीलिंग होगी देयर विल बी अ क्रेविंग टू स्टिक टू इट. अनप्लेजेंट फीलिंग होगी तो देयर विल बी अ क्रेविंग टू गेट रेड ऑफ इट या अवर्जन जनरेट होगा. The next link, it relates craving with clinging. So it says with craving as condition, there is clinging. So ये जो clinging है, that is उपादान, और इसको हम grasping और binding the self to things, we can understand it in these terms. So उपादान में क्या हो रहा है compared to तन्हा, intensity बढ़ रही है. So when the desire is heightened, there is grasping, and ये जो grasping होती है, then a person becomes attached to and preoccupied with the thing that he is desiring for. और ये जो हमने तन्हा और उपादान डिस्कस किया, इसमें इंटेंसिटी का डिफरेंस है. दिस वी कैन ऑल्सो अंडरस्टैंड विद एन एग्जाम्पल. इसे हमारे मन में ये भाव जागा है कि हमें मोबाइल फोन चाहिए. So till the time we get the mobile phone, there is craving, and after we get the mobile phone, then it is grasping or clinging to that object. So ये जो हम clinging की बात कर रहे हैं, there are 4 kinds of it. The first one, I would not call it sequentially, as in the clinging that we are discussing here. One type of it is Kam Upadan. So Kam Upadan refers to grasping or clinging to sensuality, form, sound, smells, taste, and tactile object. And then the next one is Dittha Upadan. Dittha Upadan का अर्थ है clinging to views, ideals, theories or beliefs. इसको समझने के लिए I would like to share an example कि whenever as in we must have come across situation wherein there are verbal altercations happening between individuals. हमारे साथ भी ऐसा हुआ होगा, and that the root cause of that verbal altercation may be because we are very much clung to what we think is right. जो हमारे views है, हमें लगता है कि यही सही है, and when the other person talks differently तो हमें लगता है कि because there is a difference of opinion, and that difference of opinion uh, triggers a sense of anxiety in us because there is extreme clinging to what we think as right. जो अगला उपादान है, इट इज सील बट उपादान. सो इसमें 2 टर्म्स है, सील और बट. सो दैट इट रेफर्स टू द ग्रास्पिंग टू मोरल प्रिसेप्ट एंड रिलीजियस प्रैक्टिसेस एंड ऑब्जर्वेंस. तो बहुत लोगों को ऐसा भ्रम होता है कि if a particular ethical conduct or a particular observance is followed, then that may lead to getting over the defilements, and then there is a possibility that they can go to a good realm, heaven में जा सकते हैं. जो अगला जो उपादान है, it is attavad upadan, which implies grasping onto self view. So this upadan, this is the most crucial and subtle in terms of manifestation. So ये कहते हैं कि हम ये जो self वाला भाव है and self view है, that gets so strong, and many a times in our day-to-day conduct we are not able to analyze that the problems is arising because we have a very strong clinging to the notion of self, the notion of self view. Now after upadan there is a next link that relates upadan with becoming. So it says with clinging as condition there is becoming. So ये जो भव becoming, इसका पाली का शब्द है भव. So this becoming, it relates to action in response to the aforementioned grasping. So When there is a tendency to act with respect to grasping because the intensity is increasing, it will lead to an entire range of behavior in order to ensure that we are uh, getting, or maybe that clinging, because the clinging is very strong, it is basically overpowering us, and हमारा जो entire range of behavior होगा that will be in accordance with the underlying clinging. And when this behavior or action is taking place with respect to grasping, then actually we are preparing conditions for existence as per the accumulated action or accumulated karma. And then those conditions later on will be creating existence in the three sense spheres: sense sphere, fine material sphere, immaterial sphere, and this we had discussed earlier कि there are 31 planes of existence. So भावा में जो हम बात कर रहे हैं, basically there is a set of actions in response to the heightened grasping, and those actions are creating conditions which may result into existence in either of these three spheres. और उसके बाद when after becoming, there is a next link which relates becoming to birth. So it says with becoming as condition there is birth. So birth, it refers to the uh, transition from the present life to the future life. So in accordance with the previous accumulated karma, there will be again rebirth thinking consciousness that will lead to a new birth, and confirming to the karmic momentum, there will be a birth in the realm of suitable existence, and the five aggregates arise, the life begins, mind, body, or फिर से sex, sense, basis, contact, feeling arise, and the wheel of dependent origination continues. So with birth, again there is going to be, so with birth as condition, जो अगला link बात कर रहा है, it says कि with birth as condition, there is aging and death. So when birth happens, then that conditions the next stage, which is aging and death, jara marna, and this jara marna, it implies deterioration and destruction of life. तो ये जो deterioration है, that is weakening of faculties represented by jara, and marna, it is symbolizing death or implying death, wherein the current body is not in a state to continue further. और जब हम everyday और moment to moment realization की बात करेंगे, then this jara marna will be implying degeneration and dissolution of various phenomena. ये हम आगे discuss करेंगे. अभी हम बात करें deterioration and destruction of the current life. So for unawakened people, aging and death are constantly felt as threatening and oppressive. So when this notion of threatening and oppression is associated with aging and death, there will be always pain or affliction associated to it. So therefore, this unawakened is implying that when ignorance is there, in life of such people, aging and death, that will be linked to जो अगला हम इस लिंक में डिस्क्रिप्शन देख रहे हैं, which says sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair come into play. Such is the origin of the whole mass of suffering. So this aging and death, it is leading to शोक परिदेव दुख दो मनस्य उपाय संभवंती, which collectively are referred to as suffering. And this is the concluding line of dependent origination, which says, such is the origin of this whole mass of suffering. So this is what we started with when we were discussing the forward cycle, that it talks about the origin of this whole mass of suffering. And this cycle that we have traversed in terms of the 12 factors, it actually does not here at sorrow, pain, despair, lamentation. This these five qualities that we are talking about, grief, despair, sorrow, lamentation, pain, this collection of qualities becomes another important factor which strengthen the cycle, and that causes the cycle to rotate further. और ये जो हम sorrow as in जो suffering की बात कर रहे हैं, which are happening because of these five factors, those we can also understand in terms of asav. So ये जो asav है, that actually is strengthening ignorance, and this is how this cycle gains energy, and then it has the potential to operate indefinitely till the time there is a volition from us or there is an action from us in order to work on the ignorance. ये आसव और इग्नोरेंस का रिलेशनशिप हम आगे भी और देखेंगे इन डिटेल. सो हेयर ऑन फॉर टाइम बीइंग let us have the understanding that this ignorance is getting strength from ourselves, and then this cycle is continuing. तो अभी हमने 12 फैक्टर्स डिस्कस कर लिया है in terms of the forward cycle, and we were trying to understand in the three lives paradigm. So पहला तो हमने movement देख लिया था wherein from the sankhara we are moving from the past life to the present life. तो अगर हम इस पिक्चर में देखेंगे इस इमेज में, so the three lives are presented here in terms of the different factors. तो ये जो हम प्रेजेंट लाइफ की बात करें, इफ वी टेक इट एज द प्रिंसिपल पीरियड ऑफ टाइम, then the relationship of the past to the present, it is only viewed in light of the causal factors. So it is saying that there are past causes which result into present effect. So past causes, it leads to present results, and similarly the views of the future, as in the linkage from the present to future, that is with respect to results. So ये जो हम कह रहे हैं past causes, those are resulting into present effects are resulting into present causes, and this present causes are resulting these present causes, these are resulting into future effects or future results. So this is again summarization of what we are seeing in the image here. So ignorance and volitional formation, they are actually categorized as past causes. And then the factors from consciousness to feeling, those are the present effects or the present results. And the response to the feeling, which is craving, till the time, till the factor of becoming, that forms a part of present cause. And these three factors, as in the response that we are initiating, that actually gives rise to future effect or future result. So this is how the conditioning is happening with respect to cause and effect relationship, and this explains the transition from one birth to another in the three successive lives that we were discussing. So we have looked into the factors from three lives paradigm, and initially I had said that paticca samupad को हम दोनों तरह से use कर सकते हैं. We can use it from the perspective of understanding how the transition is happening, and it can also give us insight on how the everyday life manifestation happens in terms of the different occurrences. तो अजान अमरो का एक स्टेटमेंट है wherein he says paticca samupad is scale invariant with respect to the two paradigms. So here we can view it, paticca samupad हमें micro view भी देता है, as well as it provides us with the micro view. So macro view में हमने three lives की बात की, अब macro view में we'll try to understand how it actually relates to the everyday occurrences or moment to moment realization. So let us take an example for this. Say there is an incident happening where someone has said unpleasant or harsh words to me. So the moment this unpleasant exchange is happening with some individual, then it will trigger contact. The moment contact happens, there will be feeling that will arise. Now, that feeling will be unpleasant feeling because what I have heard, that is not good speech, that is a harsh speech. So when the unpleasant happening, there will be craving to get rid of it, or there will be aversion to get rid of it. Now, if that exchange was strong, or had if that exchange led to a strong impact on me, this craving will be heightened, and then there will be clinging. And then when the intensity of clinging increases, there will be becoming, where it is saying ki we are completely overpowered by that negative feeling. There may be rising of, say, anger कि उस आदमी ने ऐसा मुझे क्यों कह दिया. Then that will initiate a whole range of action inside me, and then I'll become an angry person. And this angry person is basically symbolizing similar as in the simile for it is birth. और ये जो angry person that I am becoming, if that anger further strengthens, then the cycle will keep on continuing. Agar if we become careful or aware, then anger may dissipate, which is basically aging and death. और जरा मरना ये जो anger का है, that is basically subsequent dissipation of the anger. So this is how we can understand, we can use this cycle of the 12 factors to understand that if an occurrence is happening on a day-to-day basis, how the transition will happen from contact to the subsequent set of factors. तो फॉरवर्ड साइकिल में जब हम लिंक्स का डिस्क्रिप्शन देख रहे थे, वहाँ पे एक शब्द का यूज हुआ था विच इज पच्चया. तो पच्चया, इस पे हम थोड़ा डिस्कशन कर लेते हैं, बिकॉज द मीनिंग मे नॉट बी डायरेक्टली एविडेंट. सो पच्चया का जो अर्थ है, इट एक्चुअली implies conditionality, not causality, and there is a difference between conditionality and causality. So let us try to understand this by taking an example. So mathematics में हम इसको ऐसे समझ सकते हैं, difference between conditionality and causality in terms of necessary condition, not sufficient condition. तो हम एक example लेते हैं कि if we talk about the conditions that are required, as in what factors are required for the growth of a tree. तो seed जो है, it is a necessary condition for the growth of the tree, but at the same time it is not sufficient. सिर्फ seed होने से tree बड़ा नहीं हो जाएगा. There are other factors which are also required, which are fertile soil, water, air, sun. So यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है कि this seed, it is actually a necessary condition, it is not a sufficient condition. इसको हम जो हमने फैक्टर्स या लिंक्स का डिस्क्रिप्शन देखा था, उसके पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू में भी समझ सकते हैं कि से इफ वी टॉक अबाउट दिस लिंक वेदना पच्चय तन्हा, तो इफ क्रेविंग इज देयर, अगर तन्हा है, तो दैट इम्प्लाइज की फीलिंग होगी, फीलिंग होगा तभी तन्हा होगा. बट एट द सेम टाइम इफ फीलिंग इज देयर, इट इज नॉट गारंटीड कि क्रेविंग होगा कि नहीं. अगर इग्नोरेंस नहीं होगा तो देयर विल नॉट बी क्रेविंग इन रिस्पॉन्स टू फीलिंग. सो दैट इज वॉट इज एम्प्लाइड बाई नेसेसरी एंड सफिशिएंट कंडीशन हेयर. तो इस लिंक में हम देखें तो इसमें देखेंगे कि फीलिंग जो है दैट इज नेसेसरी कंडीशन, but again there are some links wherein there is the relationship of necessary and sufficient condition. कंडीशनैलिटी कॉजालिटी एक्चुअली दोनों हो रहा है. तो अगर हम इस लिंक में देखें विच इज सेइंग विथ बर्थ एज कंडीशन देयर इज एजिंग एंड डेथ. सो इट इम्प्लाइज कि अगर बर्थ होगा तो एजिंग एंड डेथ होना ही है. देयर इज नो टू वे अबाउट इट, which was not happening in the earlier case. Feeling होगा तो there is a possibility that if we are able to observe it or if we are not ignorant तो craving नहीं होगा. But यहाँ है कि birth होगा तो aging and death होगा ही. So that is what is necessary and sufficient condition. तो ये तो हमने पच्चय शब्द का अर्थ समझा. नाउ when we discussed about the factors, we discussed it one by one. That may give the notion कि वो जो factors हैं वो sequentially operate हो रहे हैं या कुछ temporal gap है उन factors में. But that may not be the case for majority of the factors, and this we can understand through an example which was given by Ajahn Chah. तो वो कहते हैं कि if someone falls from a tree, तो ये जो इंसिडेंट होगा इसमें कितने ब्रांचेस आएंगे बीच में, दैट पर्सन विल नॉट बी एबल टू नो till when he is falling down, because this thing is happening in such a short span of time, we'll be not able to understand कि कितने branches से गिरे. So same thing can be applied when we are looking into the different factors, कि when craving arises, the transition is happening so fast that we will not be able to understand कि अच्छा अब as in say फीलिंग अराइज हो रही है, कॉन्शियसनेस हुआ, कॉन्शियसनेस से फीलिंग अराइज हुई, फीलिंग से फिर क्रेविंग हो रहा है, दैट मे नॉट बी practically possible to visualize if we are not very अगर हमें मतलब उसकी ज्यादा प्रैक्टिस नहीं है. तो ये जो हम लिंक्स की बात कर रहे हैं, अगर हम देखें लिंक्स जो हमने पहले 7 लिंक डिस्कस किए अविद्या से वेदना तक, तो ये जो यहाँ पे जो जिन फैक्टर्स की बात हो रही है, दोज एक्चुअली हैपन इन वन माइंड मोमेंट. For our understanding we are taking the sequential consideration, but ये इसमें सहजात का कॉन्सेप्ट है कि all these factors which we are talking about, those are arising in one mind moment. But हम in order to understand we are saying कि one by one we have discussed it. So just a word of caution there that we should not take it as a sequential operation. तो moment to moment life formulation में it is clear that these are happening in one mind moment. But जब हम 3 lives paradigm की बात करते हैं, तो then there is a temporal gap between संखारा and जो ये बेसिकली लिंक 2 and 3 है, उसमें थोड़ा टेम्पोरल गैप हो रहा है. In terms of sankharas, as in the patisandhi vinyana, it is resulting into a new body. तो ये जो हमने
So, Bhavna, I suggest
yes.
we can pause here because I realize now you are getting into a new theme and निरोध को आप समझाएंगी, और अगर हम अभी भी जो आपने कंडीशनैलिटी की बहुत अच्छी हमें डिस्क्रिप्शन दी, मे बी वी कैन परमिट द एब्जॉर्प्शन ऑफ दैट, है ना. Suggest it's also 30 minutes, so
All right, so I'll stop here. Yes.
okay, so we can open up for questions, discussion, etc. खास करके कंडीशनैलिटी वाला जो एस्पेक्ट है, ये अगर हमें कुछ हद तक ये अच्छी तरीके से समझ आ जाए तो इट विल बी ऑफ ग्रेट हेल्प जब हम आगे बढ़ेंगे. Plus anything else on the links, because she's now completed the links, so if there is anything on that then we can take that up also. I just wanted to mention खास करके सुनील जी ने कल जो रिक्वेस्ट किया था, सुनील जी विल पुट दैट आउट, है ना. अभी भी we were still refining this presentation, so we'll put it out today most likely along with the actual Sutta ka link, which of course anyway can be found quite easily, और ऑल्सो जो इस पे कमेंट्री जो हम यूज़ कर रहे हैं इसको बोधी की, वो भी हम आज विल जस्ट पुट दैट आउट टुडे, सो एवरीवन विल हैव एक्सेस टू इट.
जी. Bhavana ji, yeah, this it does not imply sequentiality of factors. How can you brief little more, and on day-to-day application, how it appears for us? It means all of the links appear suddenly, you mean, or it can be anything can appears in between also. Is it the meaning?
So I'll explain that with here the descriptions that I was talking about with respect to the factors starting from Avijja till Vedna. तो ये जो sequentiality की बात कर रहे हैं, जिसका सिक्वेंशलिटी बेसिकली इम्प्लाइज कि वन बाय वन हो रहा है, बट अगर हम इन फैक्टर्स की बात करें वेयर एज इन द लिंक्स फ्रॉम 1 to 7, जिसमें अविद्या हो रहा है, अविद्या इज लीडिंग टू संखारा, संखारा इज लीडिंग टू विज्ञाना, तो इसमें एक्चुअली कोई टेम्पोरल गैप नहीं हो रहा है. ये सारे फैक्टर्स दोज अराइज एट द सेम टाइम. एंड देन लेटर ऑन जब हम देखेंगे वेदना से जो फीलिंग से जो क्रेविंग हो रही है, क्रेविंग से क्लिंगिंग हो रही है, Bhante ji, you can correct me there. There temporal gap, there is sequentiality, but अगर हम इन लिंक्स की बात करें तो इसमें sequentiality नहीं हो रहा है. All these factors are arising at the same time, arising in one mind moment. Bhante ji, you can correct me.
That's also my understanding. We'll once you finish responding, we'll check with Harsab if we are technically correct or not, but that's also my understanding. But 1 to 7 is actually quite straightforward. There's no problem there.
तो केशव जी, ये जो सिक्वेंशियलिटी हम बोल रहे हैं, वो बोल रहे हैं कि 1 to 7 में यहाँ पे कोई सिक्वेंशियलिटी नहीं है. ऑल दीज 1 to 7 जो ये ट्रांजिशन हो रहा है, ऑल दीज फैक्टर्स आर अराइजिंग एट द सेम टाइम. उसके बाद देयर इज सिक्वेंशियलिटी एंड देयर वी कैन बी माइंडफुल.
Okay.
और
Okay.
क्या?
So, okay, with our presence of mind or being mindful, we can pause it, right? Craving, clinging, or
तो
becoming.
जैसे यहाँ पे अगर हम देखें जो फीलिंग अराइज हो रही है, दैट इज समथिंग नेचुरल. द मोमेंट contact happens, feeling
Yeah.
will arise, but the response to that craving, that is in our control.
Mm. Mm.
Whether we react to that or not, that is in our control, something that we can control if ignorance is not there. सो दैट इज हाउ यहाँ पे थोड़ा सिक्वेंशियलिटी के बारे में हम बात कर रहे हैं कि फीलिंग अराइज हुई, इफ वी ऑब्जर्व दैट एंड लेट इट डेसिपेट, देयर मे नॉट बी क्रेविंग.
Okay. Okay.
So maybe I'll just make a quick point and then check the technical accuracy with Dharsab. So Prakashji, one thing we have to be careful that what Bhavna said is of course accurate, but may it not be misconstrued to mean that there is some technical fix by which between feeling and craving I can do something and that solves the problem. The problem has to be solved at ignorance. And she said that also, that as long as there is ignorance, you cannot, well, it is not possible to break the cycle at feeling. So we say, no, okay, I'll be mindful, I'll be watching. Yeah, it's true. But that is not possible if, for example, I have the wrong view that there is, for example, if that I have control, there is a sense of self, I'm not established in uncertainty, impermanence. There is not the establishment, for example, of unsatisfactoriness. So while it's true that it will break at between feeling and craving, that breaking is not possible without the cultivation of vidya, which is the opposite of ignorance. So that's an important thing to remember. That's often I've noticed, and Venerable Payutto puts cautions us in his book where Bhavna has taken this diagram from also. So just that caution.
Yeah. I got it, Bante. It means we need to start working on the root or the cause,
exactly,
real problem, rather addressing. That also helps being mindful at times, but the real problem is maybe something else also.
Mindfulness is part of vidya. Vidya is a basket that has many components in it. Mindfulness is one of those components. And in fact, the way it is explained is that it is the eightfold path, which is the completion of which is vidya. That is one way to understand it. The lack of ignorance is, to the extent I have cultivated the eightfold path, to that extent there is lack of ignorance. To that extent, it will be possible to break the dependent origination cycle. That's the way to understand it. Versus sometimes there can be misconception that, okay, if I'm just mindful, watching, it'll break. No, it won't. That's the point. So it can be a minor point, but it can also be a major point, especially in light of how currently in many circles we are looking for some technical fix. Let me continue to lead my life as I will, and but just tell me that one thing I do and it happens. No, that's not the Buddha's teaching. That's the point. So दर्शक, can we quickly check ये जो technicality है इसकी, the temporality post feeling, ये थोड़ा आप बता दें. My understanding of what I've read is that post feeling, it is in fact even in the single life paradigm, it is sequential or spaced out. वो थोड़ा आप बता दें. फीलिंग तक तो ठीक है.
हाँ जी, हाँ जी, राइट, ऐसा ही है. उसका रीज़न क्लियर है, क्योंकि जो कोई भी विज्ञान जागता है तो उसके साथ, जैसे कल बता रही थी भावना, जो कुछ मेंटल फैक्टर्स होते हैं वो हमेशा साथ रहते हैं. देयर आर 7 मेंटल फैक्टर्स, 5 of which are the factors which are listed in Nama, and 2 more are there which are not talked. One is the Jivat Indriya, the life force, another is Ekagata. Ekagata meaning elemental level of concentration. So ये सारे जब साथ जाग रहे हैं, obviously they include everything. They include phasa, they include feeling, they include the chetana. So all of them are arising simultaneously, and therefore from contact till feeling, it's straightforward as here. The existing situations are there. So it's only after feeling that there is a possibility of, depending on extent of ignorance, there will be possibility of responding to wisely or unwisely. Usually, because of ignorance, we are not even able to observe the feeling. That's what happens. We react and then remember, oh, gussa aa gaya. That too after considerable time, because the ignorance is so strong that we can't take the feeling impersonally as just a phenomena. It becomes I am feeling, and then obviously all the factors we take personally, then there is bound to be some reaction to that.
Gee, thanks. If people have questions, if you'll kindly raise your hand. Otherwise, I've got a list of questions which I want to now get into. तो अगर किसी और को कुछ clarify करना है तो please go ahead and put your hand up so that Prakash ji, please.
Yeah. Bhavanaji, you also gave applying this one on day-to-day basis, taking unpleasant words, then passa and feeling, then aversion to get rid of it. Maybe the furthermore, I just wanted to once again to little more hear and understand that part actually. The clinging part, or is it something hatta upadan? How can you really apply on day-to-day life actually? Whether it is a very kind of upadan comes to.
Bhanteji, would you like to explain?
Bhavna, aap lijiye. I think your example was very good. I think you can just
Example was good. I just wanted to re-understand once again. Actually.
Yeah, go ahead and explain that example perhaps slightly differently, but that's perfect.
Okay, so I'll reiterate that example. So we took a situation wherein a harsh exchange of words has happened between me and someone else. So the moment this harsh exchange has happened, it will generate a feeling which may be, because we are considering that ignorance is there, we are unawakened beings, so it will generate a feeling which will be unpleasant in nature. The moment the unpleasant feeling arises in response to the situation, then because it is unpleasant, there will be craving. Here symbolizes craving to get rid of it. We will be anxious to get rid of that unpleasant feeling. So the moment this anxiety is arising, if the intensity increases, then there will be clinging. Clinging, Bante ji, can you explain this clinging part? Ki anxiety, there is anxiety to get rid of it, and what exactly is happening at the clinging?
One simple way to understand it is simply that in terms of anxiety, for example, it is just a rising intensity of that reaction. है ना? The reaction, we are calling it anxiety. ठीक है ना? It just keeps going on and on and on, and that's the that's the clinging. And then if it becomes so much that I become then an anxious person, which you explain very well as uh, bhava and then jati. So in the date in the moment to moment one, this is almost like a flow. It's a process. So it's just changing degrees of exactly the same reaction which has arisen at tanha, at craving. The technical difference between the various upadans and bhav is more applicable in the three life thing, which we will discuss in detail. But Prakashji's question is very pertinent. Ki bhaiya, in day-to-day life, what do I do with it? This is what we do with it. We appreciate that if that at whatever stage, at whatever point I'm able to become alert and apply whatever panya I have, to that extent I will reduce the intensity of suffering. That's the principle. And so we use it by trying to cultivate those factors that enable us to, so to say, catch it at whatever point we catch it. Ideally, we catch it at feeling, as our teachers keep trying to tell us. But even if we catch it at, for example, mild appearance of craving, which in this example is anxiety, great. It's better than being an anxious person, and so on. So that's how I understand it in terms of the moment to moment frame, or that's how I understand in terms of how Prakashji asked the question.
Banteji, on moment to moment, the clinging is get rid of it. Is it what I should understand that way?
Say, ask that differently, Prakashji. I didn't follow that.
Okay, and to apply on the bhava or becoming or clinging on moment to moment basis, we try to get rid of something, or we see, okay, I don't want this, right? Anxiety or unpleasant feeling.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Therefore,
So
what's the
that
question?
is the clinging, right? I want to get rid of this. I want to get out of this anxiety or the pain.
Yeah, that happens
That is a
already.
clinging. Yeah.
Immediately even at craving, as I have now begun to understand it, tanha is the instinctive reaction that we have to feeling. So the instinctive reaction to use this example, unpleasant feeling is the craving to get rid of it. And that intensity of that craving keeps going up, and it becomes clinging, and it keeps going up, and it becomes becoming. So like I said, we have to be careful in the single life moment to moment paradigm. It's difficult to very explicitly separate the links. It's a continuum, it's a flow. What is operative from our point of view is, of course, to understand this. Oh, this is what happens. We say, no, oh, I'm an angry person. I'm not an angry person always. We can actually find, it starts from here. And then at whatever point I'm able to intervene with whatever vidya I have, we are able to reduce it. But I get the sense you're not asking that, you're asking something else. And so maybe I'll invite you to rephrase, to ask it again, and then we can invite Dharsa to see if he's able to clarify it better then.
Yeah, Bandaj, I could able to understand on the momentary moment on Upadan. It may be because of my own self-view, because of my own six senses, or maybe views, or maybe ideas, or theories, or maybe some kind of religious practice. That's exactly Kama Upadan, Ditta Upadan, or Shila Upadan, or Atta Upadan. Maybe then further when it comes to Bhav, on the momentary, I'm just trying to grasp and understand for the application point of view.
I think as bhavana defined, bhav as it is defined here, bhava is the technical beginning of, let me find that, beginning of rebirth. That's how I remember it.
Yeah, that is a
Yeah,
Kam,
exactly. So
Rupa, Arupa.
so so in the single life thing, we don't need to apply that, as I understand. And of course, I'll invite Dharsab to clarify at the end of this dialogue. But as I understand, in the immediate moment to moment thing, how we define it is that, oh, okay, this is the beginning of my whole being taken over by that particular reaction. Anxiety is now fully engulfing me. And then we say, oh, now I'm an anxious person. Or as they say, an anxious person is born, so to say. So, of course, he's not born in a technical, physical sense, but is born in the sense of that particular reaction for that period totally overcoming him or her. So, in that sense, bhav and jati for the moment to moment thing are again, it's just a question of degrees. And similarly with aging and death, what it is then is, as she put it very nicely, is that slowly then it also dissipates. That's why we say that if you wait, if there is khanti, then actually that's the param tap, no? That's the ultimate meditation. That's the reason. Because if you really wait with whatever that is, it'll go away. Darsab, would you like to explain it better or improve it or correct something? Or if it's good enough, then we can move on.
It's good enough. It's good enough. Only one addition I would say, we are always discussing arising of defilements and things of that kind. So, which is all in the Kama Bhumi. But we can have sankharas, wholesome sankharas also arising. And it can happen during meditation, it can happen during doing some wholesome activity. And there the bhava aspect will come. Oh, I think I've done very good, so next life will be in some high realm. And then that thought process starts. Fine.
But if I understand right, sir, this one life interpretation is not really doctrinal. Is that correct understanding?
In some suttas, for example, in Upanishad Sutta, when the forward path is described in the suffering path, and then the coming out of suffering is defined in another way. Everything is obviously happening within one life, within the mind moment. So keeping that as a basis, it has been used. But the most clear exposition is in the Abhidhamma, where it is mentioned as a full detailed explanations are given, Patthana relationships are given because it's not just one relationship between them, there are multiple relationships. Avidya, Pachya, Sankhara has numerous relationships. It is Hetu, it is simultaneously arising, and so on. So, considering that, therefore, that all becomes a one life one mind moment, because their mind moments are being analyzed. So that has been done, and because of that, I think Bhante Buddha Ghoshar then wrote the second commentary. That's firstly he wrote the path of purification, and then he wrote this another. I think it's called Samoda Vihani, or whatever name she mentioned, where he mentioned the moment by moment explanation. He himself gave the moment by moment explanation later.
Okay. Right. She mentioned it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
जी कुछ और, if anybody else has anything? सो दर्शक जी रिमेम्बर करीब 3 महीने पहले हम लोग जो 17 क्लासेस को सुन रहे थे उसमें हमने एक बार में ये वाला सुना था, डिपेंडेंट ओरिजिनेशन वाला, विच यू हैड टॉट इन 2018. Very interesting. I remember at that point, Nikhil had asked this question of Ajancha and falling from tree and so forth. And of course, I now recollect that you had provided that point, जो कि मुझे लग रहा था was a very novel explanation for that. I was wondering if you recollect that and if you'd like to repeat it, because it was a totally different spin जो कि मैंने आज तक सुनी नहीं है, which was also different from how we understand it कि वो केवल यही कह रहे हैं कि भाई फटाफट हो जाता है, वो तो सब ठीक है.
Yeah.
So
It is
would you like to
basically mentioning that this is the state of an ignorant person. Most of the time we are ignorant, so we are not able to feel. But there are examples of people who fall down from big heights and catch hold of a tree somewhere on the path. It's also there. They catch hold of a branch. I recall some news about person falling from a multi-story building and catching hold of a big tree or something. He had that much of awareness on the path. So the people, for example, who do क्या कहते हैं उसको paragliding, when they are falling, coming down, they see the possibility of falling on a tree and getting hurt. So they can, of course, they have that ability. They are going slowly and so on. So the possibility of what Ajancha is saying, that most of our time our ignorance is so that we realize it only when we have suffered. So if we are really mindful and fully ignorance is not there, we may be able to catch hold of some branch on the way, which is like locating which link you are able to catch hold of. If you are able to catch hold of feeling and your wisdom is there, then the suffering will not be there or will be much lesser, momentary and gone. That's how I can understand that. Oh, you're referring to that. Okay.
जी आई थिंक वही बात थी. या अच्छा, दूसरा जो शीलवत उपादान में ये कह रही हैं कि एंड ऑफ कोर्स मैंने से ये कह रही है, इट्स ऑब्वियसली फ्रॉम अ टेक्स्ट कि वो हेवन वगैरह की बात हुई. My understanding is that that's exactly the problem of Shilvat Upadan, that it takes you to heaven and then you're stuck there.
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
so the
And
trouble with
long, and you can actually create suffering on the ground here itself. Here itself also we can create a lot of suffering, because when you're living in a community, different people will have different understanding of the vrat. As we remember, the examples are told about different people having different understanding about things, whether this thing should be kept in the shrine or not, and so on. Because we have an idea that this is a spittoon and not a flower pot. See? So, in fact, it would be good if we relate tanha to the upadan. Kama tanha to the kama upadan, bhava tanha to the other upadans. Because they are all of them, Ditti, Silabhata, and Attavad, are essentially wrong views. The wrong views have been branched into 3 parts, actually. In fact, in some places, the Upadan is not mentioned, only Attavad is mentioned. So the wrong views arise basically because of Bhava and Vibhava. Because of those, all kinds of wrong views arise, and then we grasp to them. So some people grasp at कि शील का पालन कर लो बहुत है, that will take you to देवलोका, रूपलोका, रूप एंड देवलोक में तो पहुंच ही जाओगे। तो मेरिट इकट्ठे कर लो, अगला जन्म स्वर्ग में हो जाएगा। दैट्स ऑल्सो a part of bhava. And then there are subtler bhavas, rupa bhava and arupa bhava. We meditate for that purpose. So they're all related to that. The upadans are related to the kind of tanha and how strongly we hold it.
And that is being pointed out from the point of view of liberation.
From the, just to understand कि ऐसा नहीं है कि उपादान अलग है और तन्हा अलग है. They're essentially intensification of the same tanha. Kam tanha getting intensified into kam upadan. Bhav tanha and vibhav tanha acting together, getting branched out into three kinds of upadan. We saw that happening in the Brahmajala Sutta. No? We saw how these various views arise from Bhav tanha and vibhav tanha. They are basically the roots of various kinds of, the largest category of views pertain to that. Of course, Kam Tanha also does its play, but apparently Bhava Tanha and Vibhav Tanha play a much heavier role. Actually, Bhava Tanha plays the heaviest role. I want to be there. I was there in the past. I will be in the future. And then various theories are propounded. Thank you.
Surenji, are you?
No, I was just thinking that one meaning of upadan also is fuel. So when the intensity becomes very large, it becomes a fuel for the next state, perhaps.
जी बिल्कुल ठीक बात.
ओके, सो हमारे पास शाम को दोबारा से मौका होगा इस एक्सपोजिशन को सुनने का. और जो ये हमारा इंट्रोडक्टरी पार्ट है वो थोड़ा सा हम और चलाएंगे आगे थर्सडे को भी. एंड देन वील गेट इनटू द एक्चुअल सुत्ता. अभी तो हमने सुत्ता शुरू नहीं किया है, सो आई शुड जस्ट सॉर्ट ऑफ कॉशन एवरीबडी. एक चीज़ जो मुझे शेयर करनी थी जब ये हम सब कर रहे थे, और ख़ास करके भावना जिस थरोनेस से हमें बता रही हैं कि अक्सर इस तरह से एक भाव उठता है, खास करके व्हेन वी डील विद थिंग्स लाइक डिपेंडेंट ओरिजिनेशन, या जो सारा हमारे साथ हुआ भ्रमजाल के दौरान. कई बार इस तरह से एक मन में विचार आता है ना कि भाई ये मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा है और ये मुश्किल है. ये कई सारे जो, इफ़ यू रिमेंबर व्हेन वी टुक a digression from Brahmjal, Dhar Sahib did a session where he mentioned those things, कि मुझे बोर्डम हो रही है, irrelevant है, वगैरह वगैरह. And I was thinking a little bit about this and I thought I'll just share कि यहाँ तक तो ठीक है कि मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा है, यहाँ तक भी ठीक है कि भाई फिलहाल मैं इसको नहीं समझ पाऊंगी वगैरह वगैरह. कई बार मैंने ये नोटिस किया है दैट वी एक्सटेंड दैट टू देयरफॉर इट इज़ नॉट इम्पॉर्टेंट, देयरफॉर ये टीचिंग में इतना ज़रूरी नहीं है. सो आई जस्ट वांटेड टू कॉशन कि उसको समझ नहीं आना तक तो ठीक है, या ऐसे लगना कि चलो अभी मैं नहीं कर सकता, दैट्स ऑल दैट इज़ ओके. बट मे बी हमें थोड़ा ध्यान ये रखना चाहिए, अगर किसी हम में से किसी के साथ ऐसा हो रहा है कि अगर सटली इस प्रकार का एक विचार हमारे मन में बैठ रहा है ना, अगर इस तरह के का मार उठ रहा है कि भाई ये ज़रूरी नहीं है, देन वी शुड बी केयरफुल. जो सारी ही टीचिंग है उसका सब जगह कहीं ना कोई रोल है, और खास करके ऐसे सिग्निफिकेंट सूत्र का. सो और मुझे अजान अमरों की ये बात याद आती है कि उन्होंने ये हमें बताया था, आप में से कुछ लोग शायद थे तब, कि ये डिपेंडेंट ओरिजिनेशन मुझे करीब 10 सालों तक समझ नहीं आया इन हिज मोनास्टिक लाइफ। अब आप हम समझ सकते हैं अगर अजन अमरो जैसे व्यक्ति को नहीं समझ आ रहा है what that implies, but then he said something really जो मैं हमेशा अपने साथ कैरी करता हूँ। फिर वो ये कहते हैं कि फिर मैंने ये किया दैट आई मेड अ शेल्फ इन माई माइंड, है ना, अपने मन में एक मैंने आला सा बना दिया, एंड आई प्लेस डिपेंडेंट ओरिजिनेशन देयर। सो आई डिड नॉट डिसमिस इट कि नहीं 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 ये नहीं होगा, कभी नहीं कर पाऊंगा, या इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है। एट द सेम टाइम क्योंकि उस समय मुझे वो नहीं पकड़ में आ रहा था, तब मैं उससे जूझना, मैंने उससे रेसलिंग करना बंद कर दिया, and I moved on, and other causes and conditions came together, and then eventually of course it became uh, clear, apparent. So I just wanted to share that with all of you कि अगर हमारे मन में भी इस तरह से कुछ उठता है तो हम उसको उसको भी हम विजडम से हैंडल इस तरीके से कर सकते हैं जैसे अजान अमरो ने हमें एग्जाम्पल दिया था। और ख़ास करके हम इस चीज़ से बहुत सतर्क रहें कि ऐसा कहीं एक सटल ना आ जाए, विचार ना आ जाए कि अच्छा ये तो ज़रूरी नहीं है, so on. Yeah. So just something I thought may be helpful. Okay, so maybe should share merits. Or does anybody have a preference of any other chant? Poonam, do you have a particular?
नहीं बनते। बनते, मैं एक्चुअली उपादान के बारे में थोड़ा जानना चाह रही
Please, please, please,
थी।
please. Yeah, please.
तो उपादान जो है, इट इज इट मतलब इट कैन बी, ऑब्वियसली इट कैन बी पार्ट ऑफ सती ऑल्सो, मतलब सती में यू कैन आइडेंटिफाई उपादान। और आई मीन एक्चुअली थोड़ा सा मुझे इसका क्लैरिटी चाहिए, तन्हा और जो उपादान की बात, और स्पेशली जो अभी सुरेंद्र प्रसाद जी ने बोला कि, सुरेंद्र प्रसाद जी ने कुछ बोला था, आई कुड नॉट गेट दैट एक्चुअली, सो
So Renji, would you like to clarify? क्या कह रहे थे आप? Maybe Poonam, you can just ask the question directly. सुरेंद्र जी
मुझे
अपने आप सुन लीजिएगा, you can listen to the recording.
हाँ, या एक्चुअली मेरे को ये जैसे सिचुएशन में तन्हा, इफ यू आर नॉट एबल टू आइडेंटिफाई कि तन्हा या उपादान, मतलब एक्चुअली वो कह रहे कि उपादान कैन बी कॉज ऑफ, मतलब उसका रूट हो सकता है तन्हा का। दैट्स व्हाट आई अंडरस्टैंड, आई डोंट नो वेदर आई अंडरस्टूड और नॉट करेक्टली।
Poonamji, what I was simply saying that there is another way of understanding Upadan, because another meaning is it fuel for something. So when the intensity becomes very large, it becomes fuel for the next state to arise, which is the jati.
हाँ, तो इसको थोड़ा सा एक एग्जाम्पल से थोड़ा बता सकते हैं?
वो जो एंजाइटी की बात कर रहे थे, एंजाइटी becomes so much, or you get overwhelmed.
ग्रास्पिंग कम्स टू द तन्हा एस्पेक्ट, है ना, ग्रास्पिंग हो गया, और उपादान, देन उपादान इज लाइक
ग्रास्पिंग को ही मैं दूसरे ढंग से एक्सप्लेन करने की
फ्यूल।
कोशिश, that's all. That's only an alternative to using the word clinging or grasping. That's all, nothing more than that. It becomes so strong that you simply go into the next state without any control. Don't please, maybe it was irrelevant. My apologies for intervention.
No, it was quite striking for me. Thank you.
Okay, so सब लोग बहुत मेहनत कर रहे हैं इस वास में, खास करके प्रेजेंटर्स तो बहुत ही मेहनत कर रहे हैं, और हम लोग भी जो सुन रहे हैं हम भी मेहनत कर रहे हैं समझने की कि भाई प्रेजेंटर्स हमें क्या बता रहे हैं। तो ये सारा एफर्ट काफ़ी पुण्य का पात्र है, एंड सो देयरफॉर हम जो ये पुण्य है उसकी जो सही दिशा हमें बताई जाती है, हम थोड़ा उसको चैंट करें, और जब हम चैंट करें वी ट्राई एंड ऑल्सो लाइक आई रिक्वेस्टेड शुरू में, जो शब्द हैं, इसलिए मैं केवल हिंदी वाला करूँगा, जो शब्द हैं वी ट्राई एंड होल्ड देम इन अवर हार्ट। 75 निखिल। नंदमयं सब प्रतिदान गाथायो भणाम से, जो भी पुण्य मैंने आज किए हैं या जो भी अन्य पुण्य किए हैं, उन सब के भागीदार अनंत असीम प्राणी हों। वे मेरे गुणवान प्रियजन, मेरे दयालु माता पिता, अन्य तटस्थ अथवा वैरी, मैंने देखे हों या नहीं देखे हों, वे प्राणी जो इस लोक में हों, 3 लोकों की 4 योनियों में हों, 5, 1 अथवा 4 स्कंद वाले भव संसरण करने वाले हों, जो मेरे इस प्रतिदान को जानते हैं वे इसका अनुमोदन करें, और जो इसके बारे में अनभिज्ञ हैं देवता उन्हें इसकी जानकारी दें। मेरे इस पुण्यदान के अनुमोदन से सभी प्राणी सदा निर्वैर हों, सुखी हों, शांति का पद प्राप्त करें, उनकी सभी शुभेच्छा तू पूर्ण हो। भवतु सब मंगलं, रक्षन्तु सब देवता सब बुद्धानुभावेन सदा सुखी भवन्तु ते। भवतु सब मंगलं, रक्षन्तु सब देवता सब धर्मानुभावेन सदा सुखी भवन्तु ते। भवतु सब मंगलं, रक्षन्तु सब देवता सब संघानुभावेन सदा सुखी भवन्तु ते। अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो भगवा बुद्धं भगवन्तं अभिवादेमि। स्वाक्षातो भगवता धम्मो धम्मं नमस्सामि। सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो संघं नमामि।
महंत जी को हम सभी लोग प्रणाम करते हैं। 3 बार प्रणाम करेंगे। प्रथम प्रणाम, द्वितीय प्रणाम, तृतीय प्रणाम। थैंक यू एवरीवन, थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you.
Thank you.
थैंक यू, थैंक यू।
Thank you, Bhavana. Thank you very much. And thank you.